You're not the amount in your bank account. And, you can just begin by noticing if you actually think that. Like if you relate to your bank account or your savings or your investments or your non-existent savings and investments, if you relate to that as you're less of a human being. So that's the first thing. Is that something that's there for you? Hello, my lovelies. I am here today to bring you some new content. And today we're going to be talking about 5 things that you can do right now to change your relationship with money. So this should be a really great conversation. And if you do these things, if you start to implement these things, that you're going to start to see a difference being made in your life and in your relationship with money. And that tends to expand outward into all of your life, into your relationships, your romantic relationships, and everywhere, your relationship with yourself. So I'm really excited to talk about these things, and I will go in order, but they're not in any particular order, like do this first or anything like that. But they're just 5 things that I want to give to you right now today that I know will make a difference for you. So I've got my list right here. And by the way, I'm Zoe Shannon, and I'm a transformational money coach, and I help women earn up to 50% or more income and transform their entire lives. So this stuff works. I promise you that. All right. So 5 things that will change your relationship with the money. So the first point I want to make is that you're not the amount in your bank account. And at first glance, this seems so obvious. Oh yeah, you're not the amount in your bank account. You're not. Um, but have you ever heard of net worth? You probably have. So net worth, it does not equal your self-worth. However, the society that we live in, we have accidentally collapsed these two things, that your worth is based on how much money you have or how much money you have saved, or even vice versa. And what do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? Vice versa. I mean, like, you can have all the money in the world and not think you're worth anything too. So, it doesn't depend on whether there's no money or lots of money in your bank account. It can be, you can still have a lower self-worth. And, so this is what I want to talk about. Like, I used to feel this way. I used to feel this way, and that I was worth less because I didn't have a savings account. So I remember this very particular time when I was first transforming my relationship with money, how I was creating a budget with somebody, and they asked me, so how much is in your savings? They were, I was writing everything down and creating a budget. And he was asking me, so how much is in your savings? And he looked at me, how much is in your savings? And I was like, nothing. And the way he looked at me in that moment, I had shame just wash over me. And it really was in that moment. This is a life-changing moment. And it may not seem like it, but these moments they can be very life-changing. So it was really in that moment that I felt that shame wash over me. And then I saw it, and I was conscious of it, and I knew that I was feeling shame. And I said to myself, I noticed it and I was like, you know what? No, no. And I told it no, because not having a savings account didn't mean that I was less of a human being. It was really just what was so. It was where I was at in life. And I went home that night a transformed human being because I interrupted that thought process. And I've had to continue to interrupt that thought process, but I'm telling you, you can interrupt it, but you can't interrupt something if you're not aware of it. So first becoming aware of it, do you feel shame sometimes? Or do you feel worth less, like you're less valuable based on the amount in your bank account? Or like, I've even spoken with women where, when they go under a certain amount, then they start to um maybe feel worth less, worth less money, but worth less as a human being. And those are two very different things. And I think that's where you need to distinguish that for yourself, that those are two very different things. Because as a human being, you're actually worth more than all the money that could be printed in the world. And I know we don't relate to ourselves like that, but it's the truth. We are worth more as human beings than all the money in the world. And I understand there's a conversation. I can hear the conversation happening for many people who listen to this. If you're listening, there are a lot of things in this life that are done for money and a lot of things that are not right that are done for money. So I'm not trying to step over that. But this is as your individual work to do with yourself in terms of transforming your relationship with money right now, because that's what this video is about, is you transforming your relationship with yourself with money. So that is the first one, which is you're not the amount in your bank account. And you can just begin by noticing if you actually think that, like if you relate to your bank account or your savings or your investments or your non-existent savings and investments, if you relate to that as you're less of a human being. So that's the first thing. Is that something that's there for you? And notice if you do that or not. And then remember my words, because you're not the amount in your bank account. You are not, my lovely. You are so worth so much more than any money or anything that money could buy, just as a byproduct of existing. And that's where I want all women to get to. And, I'm still on that journey too, but I've done this work for about 5 years. I don't know, 6 years, 5 years. And, and it's just not true, that we, are worth less when our net worth is lower. And if you don't know what a net worth is, it's basically, how much money you have, negative or positive, in terms of your debt. Like most, I would say, people are at a negative net worth. It's like how much money you have, like how much you're worth. But this is, it's, it has nothing to do with what you are as a human being and who you are as a human being and what you're worth as a human being. Even though it has the word worth in it, it's not. But we've had that collapsed for a long time. I think hundreds of years, to be accurate, probably thousands, because poverty isn't anything new. Okay, so that's the first one. And the last thing I want to say about that is when you start to notice this, just take a note. If you feel that way, if you have felt that Your worth is based on the amount of money you have or don't have. And then begin to remember my words. That's it. That's it for now. Because it's a matter of unwinding the stories you've been telling yourself about money. And when you start to, which this is going to be my fifth point, is when you start to think about the way you've been thinking about money, in that place, you can begin to create a new way of thinking about money when you start to unravel the stories you've been telling yourself for all of your life, most likely. So there's that. So point number two. Point number two in these 5 things that will change your relationship with money right now if you implement them. So what are you actually spending your money on? And what I mean by this is, does your money go towards your life purpose? So I know I've created videos on life purpose. The last video I made last week. And is your money being spent on things that move you towards your life purpose? Because you could be not currently living out your life purpose, or you are moving towards it. But yeah, ask yourself, like, are you spending your money on shite and things that you don't need, and all these things that maybe just make you feel good in the moment and maybe taste good, like food and coffee and all that stuff? Or are you actually investing, even if it's a little money that you have, are you investing in things that move your life towards what you are here for? And there's a very distinct difference in the way you spend your money. So I want you to start to look at this in like, where do you spend your money? I'm just gonna keep fixing my hair. So we need to do a hair washing day and I need a haircut. So for example, like, you know, I think college and your education, I mean, college is, I think, different than like getting a certification or something like that towards something that you really want to focus on. But I mean, it's all the same as well. It's not that different, but sometimes college can be paid for with student loans or financial aid and stuff like that. So at least I know that I got a lot of financial aid, but I also had a lot of student loans in order for me to go through health psychology school. So I used to, like, I was broke and yet I would still go to Starbucks. And I would still go out for coffee, and I was broke and I would still go out to dinner. And I was broke and, I would still rack up a credit card on buying clothes. And none of that actually moved me forward to my life purpose, which is helping you transform your relationship with money, transform your entire life, heal your trauma, and earn 50% or more income. That is my life purpose. And it's much deeper than that because it's it's a human being unraveling their life story and seeing, the lies that we've told ourselves, and it's a real big healing journey. So that's what I like to guide women through. So yeah, my money used to never go to stuff that was really moving my life forward. Sure, like there was like an imbalance because it's like I was in school, but yet I was still doing this. So I didn't have money. I was in school, which the school was definitely leading me towards my life purpose, and I was on the right path. But the way I spent my money really wasn't working for what I really wanted to get to. Not like I arrive and I'm done, because I don't really think that that's true for anybody, that you arrive and you're done. But I've been on my life. I've finally, I wanted to start a coaching business, and I got to start that in 2020, and now it's 2024. So that that transformed in the course of about 1 year. I transformed my relationship with money, and I altered or flipped the way I was spending my money and what it was going towards. So I used to, like I said, go out to Starbucks all the time, and I just stopped doing that. And it really took like a shift in mindset because, I think that for some people, and I feel this too, like going out for a lovely cappuccino, I love to do that. You'll see tons of cappuccino pictures on my social media. But there was a long phase where like I only started to drink coffee at home, but it really took a mindset shift to be okay with that, because I think we tend to go, tell ourselves like, well, I don't want to limit myself, or I don't want to, how would I say this? Like, I don't, I want to like live in this overflow right now. And look, I really get that. I think that there can be a balance of both, but if you want to get from like one place of being like super broke, which is where I was, like I was broke and I didn't have any savings, and I was spending basically money that I didn't have, and continuing to rack up debt. And I know that that is a very common thing for many, many people, many, many Americans, many, many people around the world. So you want to shift it into kind of like, oh, I like to put it this way actually, which is, when you say no to one thing, you're actually saying yes to something else. So if you're saying no, and it just depends on how you look at it. If you're saying no to going to Starbucks, and maybe you're going to say, okay, you know what? Once a month or twice a month, I will spend money on an expensive coffee, but every other day I'm going to have coffee at home. And you can make it a luxury thing. I mean, I think it's pretty luxurious to wake up in the morning and have coffee with myself and then write or journal or read and like really enjoy my cup of coffee. This is my second cup of coffee today. And my first cup of coffee was enjoyed on a phone call with my girlfriend. And to me, like that is wholesome, and it fills my heart, and it's way more fulfilling than just like the feeling that I would get in the past of going to get a coffee when I knew I couldn't afford it. And that's the mindset shift, is like when you say no to something, you're saying yes to something else. And you can use that in way more things than just this concept of your relationship with money. You can do this with anything, but I think it's so great with money, because then you don't spend that money, you're able to save that money, and eventually you start to save more money, and you can actually invest in that certification or that coach you wanted to work with, or therapy, or that really nice thing that you really wanted to buy and invest your money in, as opposed to just throwing it away. And I think I'm going to talk more about this in a couple of my other points. But yeah, this point is, does your money go towards your life purpose? Are you spending it on stuff that doesn't matter, or are you able to invest it in things that are moving your life forward in what you're here to do? So that is my second point. So my third point is now going to be to look at the source of your spending. Ooh, this is a big one, because we have a relationship with money. We do, whether we are aware of it or not. My relationship with money before I ever started to explore it was very tumultuously emotional. And it was like such a veil over my eyes of shame. I had so much shame around money, which is so interesting that now I talk about it all the time, but I had so much shame around money. And that's basically how my relationship with money consisted, all the time, every day of my life. And it made it hard to talk to people about money, or like, be in a relationship where I wanted them to buy me dinner, but at the same time, like, I felt ashamed to ask or stuff like that. And this is also connected to my first point about your net worth doesn't equal your self-worth, but that's not how we commonly relate to money. I certainly had those two collapse. Like, my net worth totally, for me, equaled my self-worth. And that really sucked. It's not a place where we want to be. And it's not the truth. Okay. And you may be listening to this and hear me saying this and still be in that place where you feel that way. And that's okay, because it's totally a journey. And it's like, I can tell you something and you can hear my words and you can like hear a little bit of truth. But until you get it very viscerally, like I did that one day, the story I was telling you about making my budget and seeing the shame and then clicking it off and saying no and realizing that that was just a story I was telling myself, that was a transformational moment for me. And that was because I got it myself. I got it. Nobody else told me anything. And and it could have been, an accumulation of things that I had heard over the years, but it was something that I got for myself, and that's what you need to do for yourself too. And sometimes these things take time. And perhaps later on down the road, when things do click for you, you might go, oh yeah, I remember Zoe was talking about this, and now I get it. Oh, now I get it. And she said that one time. So, um, is the source of your spending coming from guilt or shame? So another thing that I used to do is, it was around when I was 17, 18 years old. And I was in beauty school, and I didn't have a lot of money. And my boyfriend at the time was paying, I don't remember exactly how the bills worked, but I know that he was paying for a lot of the bills and stuff. I don't remember. I think that I was paying half the rent, but I don't remember. But anyways, I would do this thing where I would go shopping, and my shopping used to come from a place of, if I have these clothes, I'll be better. So it was coming from a place of very low self-esteem and lack in myself. And and so that's what I want you to look for. Like, when you want to go shopping, where's it coming from? Is it coming from, like, if I have these things, then I'll be a better human being? And there's nothing wrong with shopping. I love shopping, but it's a matter of transforming the inside of you and the thoughts you think about yourself. And you can still, of course, buy nice things. I like to buy nice things. I still love to go shopping. But I know that, so like there was this little shift now that I'm older, that I noticed that. So I would spend, okay, lots of money on clothes, but here's the thing. I would not wear certain clothes, like, especially if they costed a lot of money. Like, when I put the clothes on and I looked at myself in the mirror, I didn't see that I was worth the cost of those clothes. Now, I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it's a very interesting thing that I noticed with myself. Like, I would shop at Nordstrom's and, places where it was very expensive, but, um, it didn't matter. Like, I would not wear those clothes. Like, I would wear the rags and like the clothes that kind of looked old, because I felt like when I looked in the mirror, it just didn't fit right to me. And it was totally a mindset thing. It was a mindset thing that I didn't really understand until I got older and started to transform some of that. And looking back, I can see that I didn't really, um, I just didn't really think that I was worth wearing the expensive clothes. So it's a very interesting mindset shift, but noticing where the source of your spending comes from is going to be really important in transforming your relationship with money. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, because it's never going to fill the void. Spending money, it will never, ever fill a void. It will not. You can literally spend so much money and it will never fill the void. It will never. And there can be a full circle moment, which I think I've experienced a lot where, once you do fill your cup internally and you feel fulfilled and you love yourself and you're working on your relationship with yourself and you can see your value for what it is, you can then come full circle where then you can buy the clothes, but it's not to fill a void, and you can be spending money from a different place of like, I actually am worth this. I am worth it having this nice bag or these nice clothes or, going on a shopping spree and spending $200 or whatever it is. And have it be just a different experience because it really is. It is about your perception of yourself and what you're worth. So that's what I want to say about that. And looking at the source of your spending, because when you transform that, I think part of how I transformed that was I just kind of really started to, and I want to use the word force, but not like in a negative way. Like I kind of forced myself into, you know what, Zoe, you're going to be okay with, like, basically I would ask people for free clothing and I would get free clothing. And I took time to really work on my relationship with myself and seeing myself beyond the clothing or the jewelry or um the way I looked. And it was really like a process I had to go through. And sometimes maybe I still go through it, but because it's a never-ending growth experience and expansion. Um, but I forgot what I was saying about that. So anyways, let's go on to point number 4. Um, you want to make little changes for greater results, which I've already been pointing to, but things like changing, drinking coffee at home, like I talked about, or, like I just said about, taking donations from friends and, making those little alterations in the way you perceive yourself and money. Okay. Because never ever will you ever feel whole and complete by just trying to look good. Um, but it can be a mindset shift where eventually, you actually feel good on the inside and it does start to radiate on the outside. It really does. It does. This is why I've had a glow up many times. And in the past 5 years, if you were to look at my social media, you would definitely see the glow up. And was that was an internal glow up that became outwardly expressed. Okay. So I'm not trying to say I'm the most beautiful woman in the world, but I'm just saying that my external glow up came from within. And it had to. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about this. I wouldn't feel comfortable talking about it. Um, and I wouldn't be teaching people and, helping women increase their income and transform their entire life and, date for the first time in decades and lots of different things. So I know that the glow up for me came from the inside, and you want it to come from the inside because nothing will ever fill the void. Like, it's your responsibility to fill up your cup and educate yourself and learn and grow and love yourself. Love yourself. I'm telling you, do whatever it takes to love yourself because it will make the biggest difference. And that will be the biggest glow up. That will be the biggest glow up. So just, you know, be patient with yourself and make little changes. And over time, it's really going to make a difference for you in your relationship with money. Okay. My point 5 is start to think about the way you've been thinking about money. Now, okay. I wasn't the first person to say this. It was actually Dr. Joe Dispenza. I love that guy. I love that guy. So the whole process, I mean, every point I've made so far is obviously about thinking about the way you've been thinking about money. Now, this is so important because if you don't start thinking about the way you've been thinking about money, then it's going to stay unconscious to you. Because that's the problem is that your relationship with money, I have a hair. Your relationship with money is often very invisible to you. It's unconscious, as we would say. It's unconscious and it runs you because when something is not conscious to you and you're not aware of it, then it runs you. It literally is like a robot and it runs you. And I'm never going to be done with learning my automatic, ways of being. And I don't think you will either. It's a constant, life journey. And I like that. I'm okay with that because I love that. So, be okay with that. Like learn to be okay with that. It's always going to be just like the universe is expanding. We're expanding. We are expanding. Um, so start to think about the way you've been thinking about money. And I think all of the 4 points before this last final point really leads up to that is how are you spending? What's the source of your spending? Is it an emotion or is it something else? And does your spending lead you towards your life purpose or is it a complete waste of money? Like I used to go out all the time to clubs and drink alcohol and I used to smoke cigarettes and like do all this stuff. And that was a complete waste of my time. Sure, like I don't regret the experiences that I had and the fun I had with my girlfriends, but it's like, is that really moving your life forward? And I think there's a time in our lives when it's like, okay, yeah, sure, do that. It's fun. And then you get older and you're like, okay, that's just not working for you anymore. So yeah, just start to think about the way you've been thinking about money. And also that your self-worth is not equal to your net worth. It's just not. It is not. And the more you think about that and think about, okay, do I think that? How do I really think about money? Tell the truth to yourself because that's what's going to matter. Like if you really think, oh, I hate money, well, then start to think about why you hate money because it could be you hate money because of what so many people in this world have done with money. How they've, there's poverty and there's people starving when there doesn't have to be. And there's just so many like negative things that have happened with money. But you want to start to think about that. Well, why do I hate money? Well, because my mom drained my bank account when I was a kid and I worked so hard for it. Or like, for me, it was my dad never responded to a letter that I wrote and he never called and he never tried to contact me in any way whatsoever, ever. And he paid child support until I was 18. And then I found that out when I was 16. So it, obviously it kind of made me angry. It kind of made me feel like, okay, so this man doesn't love me, but he'll pay money. And it was because he had to, but you know, they're just all, everybody has a very unique individual experience with money. So you just want to start to think about, how have you been thinking about money? Because most of the time, unless you're consciously looking at your relationship with money, then you're not thinking about it and you don't know, and it runs you. And the stories that you have about money run you. And until you can release yourself from the lies that are so often told about money, and I understand that it really occurs to you like the truth, because I've experienced that. And I still, like I said, I'm still on the journey with you. I'm just a little bit ahead. And that's why I'm here to teach you. So, uh, point number one, let's recap. You're not the amount of money in your bank account. Your self-worth does not equal your net worth. Your net worth does not equal your self-worth. Point two, does your money go towards your purpose in life? What are you spending your money on? Point three, look at the source of your spending. Is it coming from trying to fill the void, or is it coming from you're fulfilled and you're just happy to spend money on yourself? That's where you want to be. Point number four, make these little changes for greater results. Start to make changes. Drink coffee at home. Create a luxurious experience for you at home, as opposed to having to go spend money. Make food at home. Make a wholesome meal for yourself. Save money that way. And point five is start to think about the way you've been thinking about money. Now, finally, I do want to say, if you want to transform your entire life and earn up to 50% more income, you're always welcome to come join us inside Rich Girl School, where many, many dozens of women have transformed their relationship with money. And I'm excited to help you do that too. All right, my loves, I will talk to you soon. Bye bye.